Good morning, class.
Good morning.
This is lesson number 3. Today is June the 18th, the year of 2023. Topic of this lesson is a victorious kingdom.
Yeah.
Lesson text we in Mark, the 3rd chapter, 13th through the 19th verse, and we're going to skip down to the 6th chapter, 6th through the 13th verse. It says the time is 28 AD, the place is the mountain in Galilee. Today's aim. The facts is to show how Jesus equipped the disciples before he sent them out into the world to preach. The principle, to emphasize that Jesus never sends us to do his work in the world without equipping us. And the application, to challenge students to strive to do God's work in God's power. So, last week, let's get back to last week. Last week we studied about the perfect kingdom. Okay, and this week we are a victorious kingdom. So, before you can be victorious, you have to first be perfect. You know, and I'm not saying perfect as a people, I'm saying perfect in your work. You know, so whatever it is that you are here to do, you have to be perfect in that area. That's what I'm saying, because everybody knows that mankind is not perfect.
Right.
You know, we were born perfect, but we was born in an imperfect world, which in turn made us have to fight to be perfect again. Like I said before you go back to God, you have to be the way we was when he first sent us.
Amen.
So we have to get back to being perfect. This lesson here, it's broken into two sections really, because the first of chapter 3, the first couple of verses in there is talking about the 12 disciples. You know, so he was just naming off the 12 and their names, their surnames, in other words. He nicknamed them. Simon is his real name. Okay, so we go and we say that this is Simon Peter, but see, Peter wasn't his name. His name was Simon. Jesus gave him the name Peter because of who he was. It represented something. And he gave all the rest of them surnames, you know, like the sons of thunder, which is James and John, you know. So, and he gave them that name because it represented who they was. So we'll go ahead and get into that. Like I said, the first few verses is talking about who they are. So I'm not going to tarry too long on those few verses. I'm just going to read them, let you understand the naming. You know, because we are talking about the 12, and they are the chosen 12. And as I spoke of last week, there were a multitude of disciples. You know, so these were the only 12 that he saw fit to be his closest disciples, of which he called his apostles. Yeah. And one of which was Judas. You know, so I'll get into the reason I mentioned his name after I finish reading this. But it reads here, and it says, "And he goeth up into a mountain, and calleth unto him whom he would, and they came unto him. And he ordained 12 that they should be with him, and that he might send them forth to preach, and to have power to heal sickness, and to cast out devils. And Simon he surnamed Peter, and James the son of Zebedee, and John the brother of James, and he surnamed them Boanerges, which is the sons of thunder, and Andrew and Philip and Bartholomew and Matthew and Thomas and James the son of Alphaeus, and Thaddeus and Simon the Canaanite, and Judas Iscariot, which also betrayed him. And they went into an house." Okay, so basically what we got here is a mixture of difference, which just to let us know that we are not the same. Nobody in this world is the same, and we're not the same for a reason. You know, if we were all the same, we wouldn't learn anything, because everybody would be doing the same thing.
Amen.
Everybody will be right, nobody will be wrong, because everybody think just alike. You know, so in order for this world to be, or in order for our lives to be the way that it is today, we have to have differences. If we don't have any differences, we can't be us. We can only be who we are. And who we are is only related to who we are beside. And that's because we are going to mimic the person that we're standing close to because we're just alike. So by us being different, we have differences. We have different points of opinions. We have different viewpoints. So whenever you say this is right, I can easily say no, it's not, because we don't think the same. So these 12, being that they are totally different, they are going out to preach God's word, and they're preaching the word, which is the only thing that we should have in common, which is God. So being that God is the only thing that we should have in common, coming together should be a very difficult task. Because we all think differently. We're not the same in person, we're not the same in human, and we're not the same in spirit. Though we came from the same place. We are going to be different, we are going to think different, but we are supposed to teach and preach on the same gospel. So when we go around and we say, I'm Baptist and I'm Holiness and I'm Methodist and I'm Pentecostal and I'm Catholic, those are just titles. That's all that is. That's just titles. We are all supposed to be worshiping the same God. I don't care what your religion is. I don't care what your background is. If you say that you believe in God, then we should be able to talk about the same person. Yeah. We should be able to come together and talk about the same discussion. We should have the same conversations amongst each other because we're talking about the same person. We might call them a different name, but we're still talking about the same person. And if you get down to reading these different Bibles and getting into these different religions, if you actually got down into it, you would see that we're talking about the same thing. But see, you got a lot of people that'll sit and they'll want to have an altercation with you because the words that's coming out of your mouth isn't the words that's coming out of their mouths. Mm-hmm. But see, that's a matter of opinion. Mm-hmm. And we need to come together and understand that God is God. That's right. That's it. Mm-hmm. There's no different name you need to put on him because God is just that. He's just God. There's only one God. Right. And if you're worshiping that one God, we should come together as one. And that's what we're going to be getting into when it comes to this next section. And this next section, I'm going to break that down a little farther than this one. And the only reason why I didn't break this section down is because we were just naming who's the 12 that Jesus chose. And the reason Jesus chose these 12 is because he can't be in all places at the same time. Just like us, if we're trying to reach the community and all of us is going into the same area, how can we reach the whole community if everybody is in the same place? You can't. So in order to reach the whole community, he had to break them into sections. Right. And if you would notice how he broke them into sections, he broke them in twos, which just letting us know that we can't do anything by ourselves. Right. In order for us to get a message across, we have to lean on somebody. Mm-hmm. Like I said, we're all different. So by me taking somebody with me, and I'm trying to explain certain things to certain people and they're just not getting it, and maybe the other person that I have with me has gone through some different things that I haven't gone through, right. They can explain it a little bit better. Yeah. Because like I tell my daughters all the time, I am the person that you call been there, done that. Mm-hmm. And when been there and done that is trying to tell you how to do it and you're not listening, you're going to be lost. So when you have two different opinions, somebody knows exactly what's going on. So you have to be able to listen to both sides of the story. There's always one side. If anybody is trying to figure out a problem or solution, there's always two sides to every story. I know some people might say, no, it's not. There's three sides. No, it's not three sides. It's only two sides. There's the right one and there's the wrong one. I know some say, well, it's my story, that's their story, and then there's the truth. No, there's only the wrong one and the right one. There's only two stories. Right. You either going to tell me the truth or you're not. Right. I don't want to hear what you got to say, and I don't want to hear what you got to say. You're either going to tell me the truth or you're not. Okay, so let's go on and get into it. It says here, oh, but by the way, I know I just jumped over what I was trying to explain to y'all earlier. Verse 19 says, Judas Iscariot, which also betrayed him, and they went into an house. Okay, everybody is put here to do a specific job. Yeah, that's what I'm trying to get at. And see, the thing is, when we're placed here on this earth, nobody knows what they are here to do. Judas had no idea that he was going to be the one that betrayed Jesus. Simon Peter had no idea that he was going to be the one that denied Jesus. But see, because Jesus already knew who these people was going to be, that made this journey that much better, because they had no idea. If we knew what our life was going to be about at the end, many of us wouldn't do a lot of things that we are going to be doing. That's because we know who we are going to be later. And see, if I knew that, let's say for instance, if I knew that I was going to be a bishop farther down the road somewhere, if I knew I was going to be a bishop, do you think some of the things that I was doing back in the day, I would have done it? Not at all, because that's a title that was going to go on top of that name, being a bishop. Well, you remember when he used to do this? And see, I wouldn't have wanted any of these titles on me. But see, the thing about that is, everything that you have done in your past and what you are doing now and what you are going to be doing later makes up your future. That's what makes you who you are. So Judas Iscariot became the betrayer. He wasn't born the betrayer. He became the betrayer. He didn't know that's what he was going to be doing. God knew. But see, he was put into the plan already. So when we're saying negative things about Judas, we're only talking about his act, not the person himself. We're talking about the things that he has done. So when you're calling somebody a Judas, you're really talking about what Judas done, not the person. All right, let's just go on and get that out the way, because I know a lot of people have mixed opinions and mixed emotions about that name Judas. Judas is just a person. It's his actions that we disliked, not him as a person, because God says hate no one.
No one.
He ain't said nothing about their actions. We can dislike people's actions,
Yeah.
but we're not supposed to hate anyone. So just go on and get that out of your head about Judas is just terrible. No, Judas wasn't terrible. His actions was. Judas was a good person. His actions was bad. So Kenneth Davis is a good person. But some of the things that I have done back in the day now, you can count that out. Is it? Yes, sir?
They say that, no, that's why he's saying about love the enemy and hate the evil.
You hate the things, not the person.
That's right.
It says, and he went around about the villages teaching, and he called unto him the 12 and began to send them forth by 2 and 2 and gave them power over unclean spirits. So he called his disciples, those 12. Although now, if y'all read a little farther ahead, if y'all went back, you would have saw that there was a multitude that followed him after he healed the man with the drawed up hand, the withered hand.
Yeah.
So after he left, see, they was trying to get Jesus after doing that act, because it was the Sabbath. And, you know, he says no man's supposed to work on the Sabbath. But see, Jesus said something about, is it better to heal or is it better to kill on the Sabbath? So that's just an answer that nobody can really say, okay, one is better than the other, because, you know, if you ask me, healing is way better than killing. But see, they're saying he's not supposed to do any work. But see, if he did any work on the Sabbath and the punishment was death, don't that mean they'll be killing him on the Sabbath? So what's better to do?
Right.
To heal or to kill? So that's the question that Jesus was asking them before he fled off. Him and his disciples fled off. And when I say his disciples, I mean the 12 also along with everybody that followed. See, because it wasn't just him and the 12 that was doing all of these traveling. See, Jesus, whenever he spoke, people wanted to listen. And it wasn't just those that wanted to listen for benefits, but there was also those that wanted to listen because they felt like they can get something to use against him or something that they can use for themselves. Not that they liked him. So he had a lot of people follow him, just like us. Everybody that follows us they don't like us. Mm-hmm. All right, some people hates us. Yeah. They're following us because it's some things that we can offer them. Some things that they can get from us to benefit them. That's why a lot of people follow us. So just keep that in mind. So whenever you're out there doing certain things and you got a crowd around you, mind your actions because everybody isn't there for your benefit. Some people is there just to get what they can get out of you. So it says here, Jesus sent them out 2 by 2. And like I said before, he sent them out 2 by 2 because everybody has to depend on somebody. So you can't do this job alone. There's nothing in this world that you are capable of doing by yourself. I know there's a lot of jobs that you got out there doing and you're the only one on the job manning it, but somebody had to show you how to do it. Amen. Nobody just gets to work and just figure it out. Somebody had to get you started. You had to watch somebody. You had to see somebody do it. You had to hear. Like me, I do a whole lot of work on vehicles and stuff, but guarantee I done spent time on YouTube trying to figure it out before I jump on it. Somebody got to show you something. You're not going to do anything by yourself. And see, he gave them power over unclean spirits. These are things that they didn't have on their own. Now, although they could have properly went on out there and did it, but it's just certain things that Jesus had to explain to them. Otherwise, it would have never happened. See, Jesus had to explain to them that the power didn't come from him. The power came from God. So anytime they wanted to do something, all they had to do was believe it and ask. See, when they believe, that means they got the faith. And when you have faith, you don't doubt anything. And the reason things fail with us when we say we got faith is because we got some doubt somewhere. We got faith to believe that God is going to deliver us from this, but we got doubt to believe that it's going to happen when we want it to. Yes, sir, D.
Well, I'll go back to what he had said on Sunday. I think that's on last Sunday about that. See, you can't do it on your own, and you got to search God first. Even though you go to when you pray for the evil spirit, you got to have God involved because he won't work.
That's right.
He'll backfire on you.
You can't do anything without God.
That's it.
If you try to do anything that God don't want you to do and God didn't send you to do it, guarantee it will fail.
That's it. Because
God has to put his signature, put his stamp on anything that you do. If he didn't approve it, it won't happen.
It won't happen.
It says, and commanded them that they should take nothing for their journey, save a staff only, no scrip, no bread, no money in their purse, but be shod with sandals and not put on 2 coats. What he's trying to get them to understand here is he wants them to have complete faith in God. He wants them to be dependent on nothing material. Right. Anything that they get, he wants them to understand that God can give it to them. So as long as they're following his principles, see, God had to give them rules. Like I said before, and I'm probably going to talk to y'all about rules all the time. Every time I stand up here to talk, I'm probably going to talk about rules all the time because rules is what everything boils down to. If you fail to follow the rules, then you fail. When you don't follow the rules, you miss out. You lose. So things that you want in life, you're not going to get because you don't follow the rules. And by following the rules, that guarantees that you're going to get what you ask for. So there's things that Jesus asked them to do, and one of them was to have faith in God. As long as they have faith in God, all of these things that they're mentioning, They don't have to worry about it. See, when they, right here, he asked them about 2 coats. See, they was going to carry one. It was called a tunic. Mm-hmm. They was going to have one, but that outside, see, the tunic is the undergarment. And see, that outer is what they would wear for, like, especially at nighttime. They normally use it as a covering when it starts to get cool. Mm-hmm. So, basically what he's saying is, even if it gets too cold for you, have enough of faith that God will take care of you. And when they're going out there into these areas, these cities, and they're preaching and teaching, he's going to mention it later. I know I'm going to go ahead and talk about it. Yeah. But he says, the house that you live in, he wants you to stay there forever, which means that's the only person, well, that's one of the first people that has actually drawn into him, that has started believing and listening to all the preaching and the teaching that they was doing out there. These are the people that draw close. So when they drew close, they found friendship, they found family in that house. He don't want them to bounce around to different houses. He wants them to be accepted. Just like God is not going to jump into us and then jump out and go to somebody else and then jump out and go to somebody else, because once we accept him, he's there for good. He's not going to come for a little while and say, okay, I'm about to leave now because I'm getting bored here. No, he's there. Once you accept him, he's there. He's not leaving. Whenever we accept God in our lives, God is there for the long haul. But you have to be prepared for the long haul. See, God don't have to prepare himself for us. We have to prepare ourselves for him. Once we prepare ourselves for God, God is going to take over. We don't have to do anything else. I can't remember what that song says right now. I was about to say it, but it just slipped my mouth. But anyway, when our time comes, that's when we get to work. That's how the song goes. When I get to heaven, I'm going to sit down. But see, that's not how it goes. That's just how the song goes. And that's because people wanted the song to sound good. See, sounding good and being good, that's 2 different things. Yeah. Okay, so the song says, when I get to heaven, I'm going to sit down. But see, when you get to heaven, that's when you're going to get to work. What you're doing right now is sitting down. No. See, we don't have to do anything right now. Everything that we are doing, we're doing by the grace of God. That's all. God is allowing us to do everything that we are doing on the face of this earth. All the benefits, all the blessings that we are getting, all the miracles that's going on in our lives right now, it is done by God, not by us. We're just sitting down right now. You might be getting tired, but you're getting tired on your own will. Mm-hmm. But once you leave this earth, then you're going to start working. Let's just hope that you are able to do the right job once you leave here. And that's because you have done as the 12 disciples, and you've done the work that God put you here to do. You have lived the life that God intended for you to live. The people that you cross in your life, you didn't cross them. You didn't talk down on them. Mother and father come up in your face and you don't talk bad about them. You don't badmouth them. And you're always courteous and obedient. That's what everything boils down to, being obedient and courteous. That's it. If you go through this whole book, everything talks about obedience, patience, being courteous. If you have all of these things, God is right there. You don't have to worry about what God is going to do to you, because you already know. As long as you're doing everything that God has asked you to do, you don't have to worry about the punishments that God may have on the other side, because you're doing everything that God has asked you to do. So just say thank you. That's what our life is based on right now. That's what everything boils down to. Doing what God asks us to do so that we can reap his benefits. And he said unto them, in what place soever ye enter into an house, there abide till ye depart from that place. That's what I was talking about earlier. Mm-hmm. The first place, the first person that accepts you, that's where you stay. See, because you know how we are. Once we find friendship, we don't stab them in the back. Well, as a true Christian. I'm going to put it like that. As a true Christian. Right. Once you find friendship, that's family. And you're going to stick with family forever. You're not going to cross family. So, in other words, what we're not going to do is we're not going to get close to you and then see something else that we like down the street and then leave you alone just to check and see what's going on down there. We're not going to do that. And see, that's what God don't want them to do. He's telling these 12 disciples, he said, once you find them, that's where I want you to stay because they accepted you.
Yeah.
However, I do want you to still go out and see how many more people you can get on your side. But see, now what happens if they're doing all this teaching and they're doing all this preaching and nobody wants to hear it? What is there to do then? That's what he told them. He says, if they don't want to take it in, shake it off.
That's right.
Don't worry about it. Says because they will get their benefit. They will get their reward. I'm telling you to tell these people what they have to do to get in good graces with me. If they don't want to do that, don't worry about it. You've done your job. Your job is to go out there and preach and teach the message that I told you to go out there and say. If they don't want to accept it, leave it alone. What he don't want you to do is continue to sit there and try to drill it in and try to drill it in and try to drill. If they don't want it, they're not going to get it. But see, the thing is, this is the important thing. Put it out there and leave it.
You already seen it. Give him the word and leave it there.
See, but you got some that'll just look and say, well, ain't no need for me to go over there because they're not going to accept it anyway. That's not what God said. God says put it out there and leave it. If they don't want it, they won't take it. But if they want it, they'll take it. Regardless of who they was. Used to be is gone. Last year is over. Yesterday is done. There's nothing you can do about what already happened other than talk about it. But you can't change it. So if you go ahead and you put the message out there, regardless of who you thought they was, if they want it, they'll get it. But like feeding somebody that said they're hungry.
Yeah.
But you know they really wasn't hungry. They just wanted you to give them some money. When they come around, they say, you got about $10, $20 you can spare, I'm hungry. Most of them, I'm going to say most of them because I don't know them all. I'm going to say most of them. Most of them don't really want the food. They just want you to give them the money so that they can go and do what they want to do with it. Yeah. See, they'll put their food in there because a lot of people tends to fall guilty and fall weak to that I'm hungry thing because people don't like to see people starve. So they'll say, okay, I'll go ahead and give it to them because they're hungry. Well, I learned a long time ago, give them what they ask for. If they say they're hungry, take them to get them something to eat.
We had an experience. We left church one Sunday. We went to Family Dollars, get little snacks and stuff. And there was a man out there, and his name was Mr. Sam. And my husband asked him, it was raining, pouring out raining. And him and my nephew went in the store, and I stayed in the car. And I watched, and the man asked my husband, I didn't know what he asked at the time. I was like, what did the man ask for? He said he asked for some money. And then he said, sir, can I ask you, what you want the money for? And he said, to buy him some alcohol. And my husband said, I'm not going to give you the money for anything to hurt you. He said, but if you want something to get somebody to stove, something to drink, something to eat, come on, you're welcome to that. And the man changed his mind. He didn't do it. Then later on, he said, sir, I would like that drink and something to eat now. And then after that, my husband come out the stove and I saw the man coming too. And he gave him a ride, wanted to give him a ride home. And then he said, told him thank you, because a lot of people would just, wouldn't have done that.
Mm-hmm.
And gave him a ride home.
Yeah.
And then I remember that, we don't want to give something to somebody that's going to hurt them.
No.
But if something happened to that person, then that's going to be on your heart.
That's right. It will be.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
But he was honest is what I was getting to. And that admitted that that's what he wanted for. My husband just let him know, I didn't give you nothing to hurt you, man.
Says, and whosoever shall not receive you, nor hear you, when ye depart thence, shake off the dust under your feet, for a testimony against them. Verily I say unto you, it shall be more tolerable for Sodom and Gomorrah in the day of judgment than for that city. So what does that mean? I'm going to give you this information. If you want it, you take it. If you don't want it, well, I'm going to tell you what. It's still out there. I'm not going to take anything away from what I've done said. It's still out there. Everything that I done told you that God wants you to do to make it in is still out there. Right. But see, the thing here is, see, Sodom and Gomorrah, who remembers Sodom and Gomorrah? Yeah. So these were two cities that they just started doing some terrible things. Some outright, just bad, terrible, just I can't even explain it now. It's just bad things. They just doing some wonderful, some words, some awesome, God, what kind of word am I looking for? It's just that bad, you know what I mean? It was just that bad. You can't even explain it. So what it is God looked down on them. God says, you know what? Enough is enough. And he just destroyed the whole area. Both. Just destroyed them because they was just that terrible. He destroyed them. And see, what he's saying right here is, see, Sodom and Gomorrah, they had somebody come around there and they says, okay, these are the things that you should do and you shouldn't do. And then they left it like that. Mm-hmm. God came back and destroyed them because they did what they wanted to do. Yeah. So right here, God is saying, look, put it out there. Let them take it. And then let them live off of the information that they take or not take. But see, what's going to happen is, if they don't take it, when judgment times come, they're going to have it far worse than Sodom and Gomorrah did. Far worse. Now, if you know how bad Sodom and Gomorrah, it was so bad that everybody talks about it today. That's right. There's movies based on Sodom and Gomorrah. Mm-hmm. How bad it was. So if you're going to have it worse than that by not living by this information, you're going to have it bad. And see, he's trying to warn them to leave it alone. Live by my word. Live by my rules. Live by my laws and my commandments. Because if you don't want the benefits that's going to come out of it. He's forewarning them. No, it hadn't happened yet. But it's going to happen. Yeah. See, the book of Revelation is just a book in the Bible. But the book of Revelation is life. Mm-hmm. Life itself. Once you start seeing everything that has gone on in the Bible unfold in your face, that's revelation. It's coming to pass. So it's just showing you that everything that God has already told us is going to happen is happening. What was first shall be last. The United States used to be on top. We're slowly inching to the bottom. Other countries is coming up above us. The book of Revelation is unfolding. So if you're not ready yet, I ain't going to tell you that because I don't know how much longer you got. I'm going to tell you this. You better stop what you're doing right now and get ready.
That's the time.
Because today is the day.
That's right. Not tomorrow.
You need to go on ahead and stop what you're doing and get ready. Get right. Because when we step foot out of this building, that could be it.
That's all.
My next blink could be it. We don't know. So we have to go ahead on and start living the life that God intends for us to live now, because we don't know what tomorrow has. Everybody is planning on tomorrow. Yesterday, I was planning, trying to figure out what I was going to do today. I still hadn't figured it out yet. Mm-hmm. And I don't think I'm going to figure it out. I think today is going to be just like yesterday. I'm going to go home, I'm going to change clothes, and I'm going to watch TV. That's it. So We can't plan on tomorrows because tomorrows don't have a plan.
No.
Tomorrows just come. But we still planning. We're planning on what we're going to do next year, what we're going to do on our birthdays. Those are things that we're planning. Not knowing whether or not we're going to be here for it or not. But we're planning. Nobody knows what God's plans are.
It's the Lord's will.
That's it. The Lord will. That's the only will.
That's all
That's the
I'll
only
say.
one.
I'll
That's
say
the only
it.
one.
Let's say that.
They say when we making promises, you can't make no promise. It's God's will.
It's the Lord's will.
Mm-hmm.
And they went out and preached that men should repent. And they cast out many devils, and anointed with oil many that were sick, and healed them. Now, the thing about that is you got to go way back to what we first started reading about. When God chose these 12, he gave them the power to do these things. Now, what was the power? That's all it was.
Jesus.
That's all it was. See, let's say this for instance. My father, he showed us a lot of things growing up. A lot of things that we would say, oh, that's impossible. But see, I watched my little daddy pick a motor out of a car. I watched my little daddy hold the front end of a car up while me and my brother changed the tire. Well, while my brother changed the tire, I watched. Okay? Let's just go on and get that right. I saw it. I didn't do it. But the thing is, when we say that things are impossible to do, you don't know what kind of power comes along behind them.
That's right.
So while these people are going around watching Jesus do certain things, they says, oh, he can do it. And he's talking about God. God gave him the power. So by him saying he's going to tell his daddy to give us the same power, I believe it. My daddy tell me I can pick up a car, I'll believe it until I can't. Because I seen it happen.
Yeah.
And see, I'm way bigger than my daddy. I seen it happen. Now, until I get to the point the way I can't, then I'll believe I can't do it no more. Oh yeah, I have picked up a car, but that was in fear. I was scared. I wrecked my sister's car in the ditch, and I had to get it out. I picked that car up and got it out of that ditch. But don't tell me it can't be done.
God give you human strength.
See, at these moments, you think about the moments and the times when you do certain things that's impossible.
Mm-hmm.
Where do it first start? It starts in here. Starts in your heart.
That's right.
When you start doing these impossible things, the first place it starts is in your heart. See, when I lift up that car, it was in my heart because I was scared.
Mm-hmm.
And I didn't care what happened after that. That car had to get out that ditch. When we are going around doing God's word, doing his will, it starts in our heart. So if it's not in our heart, it won't get done. You have to want to help.
Ain't no good help.
You can go and tell anybody the goodness of God, but if you don't want to help them, ain't nothing going to happen. You have to want to help people. You have to want people to live by God.
That's right.
If you're going to tell me about God, I better see God in you.
Amen.
If I don't see God in you, don't talk to me. Because I'm going to look at you just like you are. You know, that's how we was talking in a couple of weeks ago. You shouldn't have to tell anybody who you are or what position you hold when it comes to God.
Amen.
It should show within you. Who I used to be should not dictate who I am. See, if you notice, going through the Bible, you never hear about Jesus the child other than the baby. Nobody understood or nobody saw what happened with Jesus when he was 6, 7, 8. What happened to those years? The reason you don't hear about these years is because it didn't matter. It's not about his past. It's about who he is. So when people come talking to y'all about what you did back in the day, don't worry about that, because it's not about who you used to be.
That's it.
It's about who you are. So if you're still being the same person that you used to be, something wrong with you. You didn't change.
That's it.
See, because God told me in this Bible, God says, come before me a new song. How am I coming before him a new song if I'm still doing the same thing I used to do? As a saying I used to hear a long time ago, if I want something new in my life, I got to do something different. If I don't do anything different, don't expect anything different. You want to change? Make a change. So if your life is just terrible, messed up, every day you feel bogged down and weary, change something. That is, if you want it to change. If you don't want it to change, keep doing what you're doing. But I don't think there's anybody sitting in this church that want yesterday to be just like it is today.
Yeah.
You want your tomorrow to be different than it is today.
Man.
You don't want next year to be like this year was. So what you going to do about it? You're going to change some things. I ain't say everything, because some things you do like. But there's a lot of things in our lives that's just unfinished. How do you know it's unfinished? Because we're still here. Saying I live by, going through the military. My boss gave me, he passed away in Iraq right before I left. He told me, don't worry about anything when you go out there on the battlefield. He says, because God put you on this earth to accomplish a certain amount of tasks. Right now I'm so far behind, I'll never die. So what that means is, as long as you're here, you still got work to do. When your work is complete, nothing to worry about, nothing to be sad about, because you're going home to Christ. Because all the things that he wanted you to do is done. How it get done is up to you. That's your choice. But remember what I said about choices. You can make them, but then you have to deal with your consequences.
That's right.
So you make that choice so that you can deal with the consequences that comes behind it. If you choose wrong, you're going to live wrong. I'm turning this over into the hands of the superintendent.
God bless you.